Strong bodies,
kind hearts,
unstoppable minds.
You're listening to Strong Girls Pod,
where strong women share their stories
to inspire strong girls.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Strong Girls Pod. I'm your host, Charlie Ekstrom, and I'm here with a super awesome guest today, a member of Team USA Field Hockey, Ally Hammel. Thank you so much for joining us, Ally.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
This is going to be so fun. And for our guests who are tuning in for another episode of season 2, you know that it's our Olympic themed season for our newbies joining us in. It is a pretty special season because we are highlighting some absolute crazy talent this season, including Ally, who is officially a member of Team USA, is going to be competing in Paris. And we're just so excited to get to highlight your story and to root you on as you go and compete in Paris in a couple of weeks here.
Thank you. Thank you. You even saying that makes me emotional. It's so crazy. Still feels surreal, honestly.
It's awesome. I literally get emotional for all the athletes as I'm watching this, as the namings are happening. It brings a tear to my eye because it's such a special time. And I mean, as I get older and as I'm seeing friends starting to qualify too, it's one of those crazy things that you just get. It's that overwhelming sense of pride in just everybody. You know the work that you've put in for all of these years and getting this opportunity. It's pretty incredible. And I'm just so ready. I have all my recordings, getting prepped to just have my DVR full of all of my Olympic watchings because I have so many sports that I'm a fan of now. I need to watch all of them. So my entire July and August, I'm no more Netflix shows, no more TV. I'm on sports. That's what I'm tuning into.
I love it. I love it. It's so awesome.
It's the best. So Ally, I am really excited. I know a little bit about your story since we've gotten to meet and get to know each other a little bit here. But for those of our listeners who don't know your background, who don't know your story, who just know that you're a member of USA Field Hockey now, can you give us your background and your story? Let's talk about your career, spanning through why you chose your sport, what you played before, what you're doing now. Let's hear it all. Let's go.
So I grew up in Massachusetts. I am originally from about 30 minutes south of Boston. And growing up in that area, we are big ice hockey community. So I grew up playing ice hockey originally. And then, of course, I played soccer, lacrosse, softball. It's like any sport, always fun, loved being outside. And around 7th grade, I was introduced to field hockey. So my mom actually played at the University of Connecticut and is an absolute baller, was such an amazing player. She taught me to play field hockey, and really my love for the game just took off from there. I started playing it all the time, whenever I could, always at the field practicing. I played with a club in Connecticut called HTC Field Hockey, and my club directors, Darren and Deb, they were absolute rock stars. They helped me grow into the player that I am today. I was recruited to play at Boston University. I actually took a 5th year. Sorry, let me backtrack a little bit. Took a 5th year at the Loomis Chafee School in Connecticut, where I had, again, an absolute baller of a coach, Bobby Moran. She helped me, again, develop as a player. I was recruited to play at Boston University. Played there for 4 years. I think around my sophomore year of college is when I started to get involved in the U.S. program. I tried out for the U21 national team. I actually got cut. And then I, again, aged out of the U21 team and tried out for the development squad, which is the team that's the transition between U21 and national team, which they had actually just created at that point, I believe, to help people stay in the game post, aging out of U21, because we didn't really have something like that before, which was super cool because otherwise there's not really, besides college, there's not much opportunity to play field hockey in the United States. So I played for the development team my junior and senior years of college. And then I was invited to join the national team full time. I centralized in Lancaster, Pennsylvania around, I believe it was August of 2019. Yeah, and I've been on the team ever since then. I played in a couple major tournaments. which has been absolutely amazing. And then, of course, most recently, I was selected to represent Team USA at the Olympic Games, which has been a dream of mine, like for a very long time. Grew up watching sports. Mia Hamm was always a legend to me. I wanted to be exactly like her. And then, of course, watching the USA hockey team, like the women's team, they're amazing. And I always wanted to be like them. So achieving that has been just like a dream come true. And I can't wait to represent Team USA on the world stage.
Oof, goosebumps I'm getting from that. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's like you saw different facets of the USA pipeline of different sports too, but it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I need to go to the Olympics for this sport, but it was always like, I'm going to go to the Olympics, which is such a cool, it's a cool thing to be able to watch and to experience. And now you're like, whoa, that's me. Like there's kids who are looking out, and that's you now. You get to be that inspiration source. Yeah. I also was a huge Mia Hamm fan growing up. I literally like read her book when I was in early elementary school, and I was like, quitters never win. Like, let's go. Yeah. I'm not a quitter. That was always like such a driving like foundation for me in childhood. So the second you said that, I like lit up. I was like, oh my gosh, me too. Like, I read her book.
So in third grade, we used to do like the wax museum where, you'd read a book. I think it was third grade or fourth grade. We do a wax museum where you'd read the book and then you would be the person. Yeah. So I was Mia Hamm in the wax museum. Crazy. Like,
oh my
so crazy.
Gosh.
I know.
That's so cool. That's so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm like second, third grade is definitely like when I read her book, when I was
exactly.
When I was getting into playing sports at less of a daisy picker role in sports and more of I actually want to do the sports thing. And it's such a cool foundation to have. And then obviously now you're like, okay, I was playing all of these sports growing up. I did all of these things. And then I chose field hockey and got to actually follow this whole path and really enjoy this journey. I love hearing kind of this pipeline that you've had of like progressing through your journey, and not just USA field hockey, but just kind of progressing into like your specialization into your sport as well. I want to go back to your foundation. You talked about playing all of these sports growing up. You talked about working with your mom and kind of developing your love for field hockey there. Do you have anything that you think, like, what do you feel like was your defining foundation to enable you to do what you've done now, or to enable you to kind of have that passion for field hockey moving in?
Yeah, so I think for me, in field hockey, I think what drew me to the sport was how it was so different than other sports I had played. So, growing up playing ice hockey, it's similar, but it's not the same. And again, like playing soccer, it's similar, but it's not the same. And I love like how three-dimensional the game is. And I think that's what drew me in initially, was how it's like changing, it's evolving. You look at the men's game and it's like every game you see them use a different skill. And to me, like that was so fascinating. It's like I developed this hunger to like, I want to do that skill. I see it on TV and I want to try that. I want to, just try it and see what happens. And I think that paired with like just wanting to go and have fun. I always loved, the challenge of like, okay, you go do this skill, see if you can do it. And when you do it, like, that's so much fun. It's so much joy. And I just, in playing, experiencing those, like, okay, you make a mistake and how are you going to change? What are you going to do next? What skill are you going to perfect? How hard are you going to push yourself? I always had that drive in myself. And I just love like the competition, everything about it. It's like hard to describe. I hope I'm making sense here. It was a lot of fun. And I think that's what it's like really grabbed me in to it.
You're making a lot of sense. I hope you're making as much sense to others as you are to me right now, because I feel the exact same way in sport of like, it's this combination of like this passion for the like 3D evolution. There's so many dimensions to changes in sport. Like you get to really experience that change. And there's also like that element of fun in sport. I like, you hit the nail on the head. It's exactly that. Like you have to be able to find joy and to have that pleasure in your sport and to have it be fun along with it being work. Like not every day is going to be the most fun day in the world. You're going to have the like the ebb and flow as you have in every single aspect of life, but having that fun being the foundation for you wanting to do more and for you to feel that evolution through fun is such a cool and incredible evolution to have of like, okay, I know that this excites me. This is going to be really fun to try at a practice. This is going to be a really fun play to run. This is going to be a really fun XYZ. And that having that be your defining foundation is my defining foundation is fun. And then I get to do all of these crazy tricks in the meantime. It's so cool.
Right.
I love it.
Totally.
This is so, you kind of queued yourself up here, which is perfect for me because you were talking about this whole idea of it being 3-dimensional. And then I'm like, 3-dimensional. What's awesome is you don't even realize it yet, but we're going to hop into a 3 good things thing. So I'm like 3 dimensions, 3 good things.
Good things.
It's pretty awesome. Our 3 good things segment, it's one of my favorite things. Looking into mental skills practices, looking into a daily practice that's super easy to bring into life is, we call it our 3 good things. And we like to say that every day, no matter how high, no matter how low, no matter how good, no matter how bad, it is really easy to find 3 good things. And sometimes maybe it's not 3, but we like to say that it's good to find 3 good things. And it's basically coming off of the idea that we all are kind of fine-tuned to have a negativity bias on a day. If we've had one bad thing happen in a day, it can usually turn our mindset around from having something be really net positive to something that ends up being really net negative. But if you find 3 good things in your day, it's pretty easy to turn that negativity bias around, because at the end of the day, even if you felt horrible the whole day, your coffee might have tasted delicious, or you might have been able to put a ponytail in your hair with no bumps in it. That was one of my good things this morning. I was like, wow, my ponytail was perfect. And it's something that's so little. It can be super little. It can be super big, but it's always, you can always find 3 good things, no matter how good, no matter how bad your day has been. And with Strong Girls Pod here, we have all of these phenomenal athletes like yourself. And we're thinking there are so many highs and lows in sport. There are so many ups and downs that you're going to see. But we want to know your 3 good things about your sport.
Okay. So specifically my sport, 1, I love how 3-dimensional it is, and how the game is like, we play half of the game in the air, which is fantastic. It makes it so fast, which is super entertaining. Guys, watch it. Like, watch field hockey. I'm telling you, watch both the men's and the women's game. You will be like astounded by how quick it is and how much of the game is played in the air. 2, I would say I love like the transitions from attack to defense. It's something that's really fun for me to watch and fun to be a part of, because like a game can change at any moment. And for me, it's like games are defined in that space. Like, how can you attack in transition? How can you defend in transition? And I think it's just really cool to be able to see that. Again, watch the sport. It's really fascinating. And then I would say, let's see, the last good thing I would say is our ability to connect with each other on the pitch and create something beautiful. And I think you can say that in any sport really, but specifically in field hockey, we take a lot of time, like soccer, we take a lot of time to build the play. And again, it might be a little bit faster than soccer, where we go forward a bit more, but when you see something develop, it's like you can feel it happening before you see it happening. And I would say that's something that's so fun about field hockey, a really good thing. that, again, a reason to watch. It's like beautiful. It's perfect to watch. When it's like good, you can feel it. Yeah, three good things
I love
about the
it. Those
sport.
are three great things. I might even put those into the three great things category.
Okay.
I'm actually so excited to have people watch field hockey this summer and watch you guys play and just have jaws on the floor. Like you said,
Yeah.
watch it. We had a field hockey team at my high school in San Diego growing up, and I had quite a few friends on the team, and I had no idea context of rules whatsoever. And I was like, this game is so fun to watch. And then I go to college, and obviously our field is right next to like our field. I say fields, our courts. We don't really have a field. We have courts, but our courts are right next to the field hockey pitch on Stanford campus. And so I would literally every day see some sort of practice, see something going on as I'm going to practice or as I'm leaving practice. We always had a pretty smooth transition, and it was so fascinating to watch how quick it was moving. That was it was so cool to me, like just the speed of the game, because I mean, I play with a much larger, softer ball that doesn't quite have the ability to move at the same pace as the balls on the field for you. And it's so cool. So please, like Ally said, like everybody, please go watch some field hockey this summer. It is so, so cool to watch.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's this whole misconception around field hockey that because there's so many fouls, and for you guys that don't know, like a stick hack is a foul. If it hits your foot, it's a foul. So, and that happens often. But with the introduction of the self-start rule, so basically instead of having to like, okay, a foul occurs, you have to stop the ball and you have to find a pass, you can dribble it on your own. And that has completely changed the game. It's made it so much faster, so much more enjoyable to watch. So again, like if you hear something about field hockey, just go watch it. It really is so fun. I highly encourage it.
What's it been like for you? Because you're even saying like this self-start rule is like a newer introduction.
In the last 10 years, I would say. But still,
that's pretty cool.
New. Yeah.
It's on the newer side. And what's it been like for you as a player, like having evolution of sport happen while you're actively playing it and learning to kind of feel that evolution happen? Because you don't necessarily see in a lot of these long existing sports, you don't really see evolution like that of the game. What's it been like being able to experience and adjust with that evolution in the game?
Yeah. So when that rule was put into place, I remember all of us, I think I was in high school maybe, or middle school into high school, somewhere around there, when we were like, we have to figure this out. How do we do this? How it's so different. But in playing it, in learning what the purpose of the rule is, it's been so fun. Like it has completely changed the game. And learning how to use that rule to your advantage, it's just, it's created such a speedy, fast game that previously was a little bit slower. So fun to be a part of that. Really interesting. I mean, they are constantly looking at reevaluating the rules, which has been interesting to be a part of, especially on the international level, because typically, this is where they're first introduced. So it's been pretty fun. I mean, I've enjoyed every moment of learning, and, again, the game is always changing. How do I change as a player? How do I apply my skill to then, be the best I can on the field for my teammates? It's been fascinating.
I love it. It's you get to experience the evolution of the game of like play transitions and evolutions simultaneously as you've literally experienced rule changes in the fundamental elements of the game. It's it's fascinating to me that like I was saying, that you really don't get to see that with many sports nowadays. That there's these governing bodies of sport. The sport has had the same rules since its beginning. And so for something like in the last 10 years to have changed, and like you said, like the game has completely shifted. It's completely changed the entire baseline and like setup of the game. And it's made it so much more interesting. So not only are you getting to evolve your plays, not only is the game improving with time and accelerating with time and it just becoming better with time, but
Mm-hmm.
you're getting to adjust, and it's becoming better, not just from players, but also from rule changes that make it better.
Right. Yeah.
It's cool. It's really cool. I don't think we've had much changes in beach volleyball that many like significant ones in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wow, that would be wild. It would, I mean, I wasn't a part of it. They changed the scoring years ago, and I can only imagine that it was really similar, that everybody's like, wow, the game moves so much faster. This is so much more exciting. It's a pretty special thing to get to be a part of the middle of the history of a sport.
Yeah. Yeah. So much fun.
I love it. I want to hear a little bit now about the two sides of your hockey career, because I'm looking, and we'll even loop soccer in too, because you were even saying like there's similarities but also differences between all three sports. And I feel like it'll be this cool little, it's got to have been this cool little triangle for you of like comparison to playing all three growing up and learning from each, but also having to kind of specialize in each as well. How do you think playing all three of them, how do you think playing multiple sports has helped you to thrive in your career now?
Yeah. So I really think of ice hockey as like a smaller game of field hockey. It's the rink is so much smaller than a field hockey pitch. So think like I have to make decisions so much faster. I have to, get to from point A to point B so much faster because the game happens very quickly. And growing up, I was a defender in ice hockey. So I was always facing forward, looking at the play happening and developing. And similarly now, playing field hockey, I am a defender. So a lot of the times I'm looking forward. And I think being able to take my vision and, understanding how the play develops quickly and apply it to a field hockey pitch has been so helpful for me. I can see things happening now because it's like, okay, I have gone from this really small, quick game to a bigger pitch. And in doing so, like, the game is not as fast as ice hockey, so I can see things develop in front of me. I think that has been probably one of the biggest things I've taken from ice hockey. And it's been a lot of fun. Like, we talk about similarly, like in ice hockey, you do a lot of, okay, stop to start things, well, it's the same way in field hockey. I have to, figure out, okay, again, how can I get from point A to point B as fast as I can? Well, that includes like maybe a crossover start. And I feel like I have taken that and from ice hockey and applied it to field hockey where, if I have to change direction quickly, well, I'm going to use what I know and what's comfortable for my body and, get from point A to point B faster than my opponent. And then along with that, like growing up playing soccer, my dad loved soccer. He always was like, all right, all three of my kids are going to play soccer. So I loved it. And being able to have that experience as well, where I'm like, okay, I'm playing on a bigger pitch already. Like I've been playing this type of system that I would play in field hockey for a long time. So I understand, how do we build play? How do we, create space for others by using our movements? Like how am I as a defender, how do I keep a person in front of me, instead of letting them just like blow by me? How do I use my body? What does my footwork look like? So all those things, I think that's why it clicked with me so easily on the pitch, was because I had that background. And I mean, you could say that for a lot of different sports, that having those like, those moments where you learn things and you can apply them, it totally clicked for me. So it's been really interesting to take those things, like take those little things that I've learned and apply them here. I still do, every day. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. Cool. You got the speed from ice hockey, and then you got the play running and the system, the knowledge of the bigger fields from soccer. And so then you get to kind of combine the two of them when you go into field hockey. I didn't realize quite the size disparity between ice and field hockey. And I think it's cool, like that quickness and transition. It hit for me in a moment, like in a volleyball comparison for me. I'm a blocker, so I do a lot of net play. So I don't see a lot of stuff that's going behind me. And I've had quite a few moments where like I get thrown in and go play defense, like back in the back half of the court.
Yeah.
And I always feel like I have so much time. Like I'll go to the back half of the court and I'm like, whoa, my decision doesn't have to be in half a second. I get 2 seconds to do this now.
It's huge.
And it's the best thing ever. I was like, wow, this defense thing. I was like, I like blocking a lot. It's my favorite thing ever. But at the same time, this defense thing is cool too. I have time to think. It's so fun. And so you like hit me in that moment. I was like, wow, that must be so similar, because the ice hockey, it's like instinct almost. You have to go boom. This is the decision I'm making. This is the thing that I'm doing so fast. And then with field hockey, you get to be a little bit more methodical and kind of feel the ebb and flow of the game a little bit more. Right. Which is you got the best of both worlds, which is really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it. And it's really cool to think like each of those sports played in. Like it was literally a full triangle for you of like the two kind of edges of ice hockey and soccer both connected for you to kind of put together that like your one biggest passion being field hockey. You got the best of it all.
Best of it all. And, you know, when parents ask, you know, okay, how do I help my kid in field hockey? Like, how do I help develop them? And I feel like my biggest thing is just go let your kid have fun. Like, go play a bunch of sports and enjoy it. That's the biggest thing. Like, let them create their passion and have these experiences that help them thrive, like help them take their learnings and apply them elsewhere. That's been, I think, my biggest learning of myself is my parents were really like, go outside, go do your things, like go find your passion and then use what you learn in your life. So I think finding that, like just seeing that develop, especially now looking back on it, it's been really cool to see my experiences.
Yeah, you got every experience that you wanted, and then it probably was a lot easier to be like, okay, I like everything else. I love field hockey because I got to try everything I wanted to. Yeah. Everything you wanted to. And then you got to try it all and you say, I keep coming back to this thing. I keep wanting to do this thing. That was I hear this a lot with athletes now of like hyper specialization young. But as I'm hearing older athletes and career athletes who have been doing it for a long time, it's a really consistent thing. And the more you play and the more you find passions for other things when you're younger, the more it's going to help you in the long run. I mean, it's such a cool thing. You literally are the textbook example of how playing 3 sports helped you to accelerate and excel in your sport now to this day. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. And I can only imagine like what the mentality shift in each sport was, because you were a defender in all 3 aspects, but defense in all 3 of those sports is completely different.
It's totally different. Yeah.
The mentality shift, it must be incredibly useful to be able to apply now, because you have 3 different facets that you've been able to play into. And it probably helps depending on what the energy in the game is, it's probably easier to transition because you know what different mentalities in each setting would be.
Yep. Yeah.
I love it. This may be just, a stereotyping situation here, but mentality shift wise, where were you at your most aggressive in mentality and where were you at your least aggressive? Like, does that go in ice hockey? Do you have to be like, because it's so fast paced, because it's so quick, do you have to be the most aggressive there? And then with soccer probably being the slowest, like, is it a little bit more like following the flow, or what's kind of the mentality shift been like in each of the flow states?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. And where field hockey falls right in the middle, but that doesn't mean that I don't, have that more aggressive moments. I feel like I see it more in in moments of, okay, I'm going to bust through and run forward and, lead for the ball kind of thing. Or, okay, I need to settle and control the play. Those types of things. Of course, in an ice hockey, you have to be more reactive. But I just feel like it's moments of that, and then moments of like, okay, I need to calm down. I need to possess the ball. I need to see the play. I need to, help my teammates calm down and find their center. But I think you're pretty spot on. Like, it's more
I love it.
aggressive in ice hockey. Yeah.
I'm glad that I was spot on there. I like hearing from you that you you get to be a chameleon in a sense in the field hockey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
with the mentality shift, and you get to take on this kind of like leadership in the way that you get to reflect, like you get to absorb and reflect energy and give off whatever mentality is needed, especially on defense too. I feel like that's super vital of when the play is happening, when everything's transitioning super, super fast, you might need to be a little bit more steadying and even out the playing field, be like, okay, we're going and doing this. This is where we're going. This is what play we're having. And on the flip side of things, like if you're going to make a forward play here and you're going to play a little bit more aggressive, you're like, all right, let's get the ball rolling. You get to kind of play that chameleon role throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, looking in to your career and your field hockey career more specifically, we've talked a lot about like how you've been playing, how you've played a bunch of sports since the beginning. But in the more recent edges of your life, it's been a pretty specific focus on field hockey, especially post high school, going past through college into now where you're at. It's been a specialization and a focus on this career and this path to the Olympics that you've been on. And I read a little bit about you. So this is a little bit of an exciting transition, but you talked a lot about transitions and what transitioning out of high school into college, talking out of college into USA development, talking about out of USA development into the USA national team, and looking at the different levels and what that transition was like and the difficulty of it. I would love to talk about what transitions were like for you and kind of the mental side of things, what it was like knowing that the play was going to elevate and how you were able to adjust from there. So let's talk a little bit about what transitions were like for you in sport.
Yeah. So I think for me, going from high school to college, they always tell you it's going to be hard. And I went into it and I was like, I'm just going to go have fun. This is great. And then I got, you get there and you're like, oh, I am over my head a little bit. And that's totally fine. Like, that's so normal. So transitions for me in general, I think have been hard. Usually it's taken me about a season or, I guess you can consider field hockey about a year because you play your fall season, you learn a lot about the game, and then in the spring for us, it's big development. So you play a couple matches, but it's more aimed at like, okay, you're practicing very consistently, you're practicing at that level very consistently, you're playing with very good players that all have a similar goal to you. So really, it took me about a year going into college to, understand what that level of play looked like. So hard, but I think in those moments is when I really looked for outside resources. Like I saw sports psych the entire year because I struggled with things. Of course, in the beginning, you're like, oh, I'm just a young kid, I'm figuring things out, and I do some good things, and it's great. And then maybe something happens, you make a mistake, your confidence wavers, and you're like, okay, now I'm realizing what situation I'm in. Now I can feel it's a bit overwhelming. And I knew myself in those moments I needed to go talk to somebody about it because that was something that was going to help me. Using the, mental skills of, we talk about like next play, being a goldfish, like having a goldfish mentality. and understanding that, your mistakes don't define you or your value. That's been really important for me. And then, of course, so my freshman year was tough and I learned a lot, but my sophomore year, I came out and I played a new position and I think I improved a lot. And my game sense, my speed of the game was so much faster, so much better. And again, I had a new challenge of, okay, I tried out for the US team. That's a whole nother level of transition, how do you react to things, how quickly, but in having that experience my freshman year of understanding, this is how I cope with things, this is how I transition, and this is what I need to do. I have to find my drive, and I have to commit to being, a high performance athlete every day. I understood going into that type of environment what worked for me. And the same thing with, coming onto the national team. I knew I was going to have a period of just my play wasn't going to be as great because I'm adjusting. And in taking that time to adjust, I, use those mental skills that I had developed, use ways to cope, use, we call them grounding techniques on the field. And then also finding ways to step away from the game when I'm outside of field hockey. And, where am I putting my focus? How can I, go read a book and do something that I enjoy that'll help me then, buy back into playing and buy back into showing up every day for me and my teammates. That's been really important for me. And I still use those things every single day. I know myself and I know what works for me, but generally, I think my message is that, to anyone that's listening and trying to, or is going through a transition like this, it's going to take time. And, we often say Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to trust your process and your skill development and the effort that you're putting into it, to then get to the other side of okay, I have stepped up and I understand this now. If we're looking at now, on the international stage, of course, we go by caps or years on the team. So your development, they say from cap 0 to cap 50, you're just trying to figure it out. And it's funny because I have just hit my 50 caps. I think I hit it in December. So
congrats.
Thank you. It's been very exciting. But so from then to now, I have just been trying to figure it out. And then from 50 to 100 is where you start to, really get a feel for the game. And then, 100 plus is when you start to actually feel like you can contribute. So that's a long period of time. That's in field hockey, in the international stage where you don't play a lot of games. We play, I think we're on the higher end of games, which is fantastic. I think we play maybe 30 a year, but it's not very many games. And so it's been interesting to see my transitions over time, but I've learned so much about myself and what works for me.
Absolutely. And you just said you play 30 games a year. So that's a 3 to 4 year journey of as you're learning and as you're transitioning, on this national team side. It's interesting how cyclical it is almost, because you look at your high school journey. It's
Totally.
4 years of really learning and developing the sport. You figure out that you started playing field hockey when you're in 7th grade. Then you go through high school and you're kind of figuring out really how to play the game, and you're accelerating enough to where you're a top recruit to where you can go. You go to play at BU, and then it takes a year to transition, but really 4 years to where you're flowing and growing. And a little birdie on the internet told me that you were defensive player of the year for your conference in your senior year. And so 4 years, you are at the peak of college. You are there, you are all the way there. It took that 4 year transition of accelerating and moving and just elevating. And then you get to this next stage of USA development and you're transitioning into getting onto that USA team. So it's going to be whatever, a year to a couple years in between. And then it's a 3 to 4 year transition as you're on the national team, as you're figuring your stuff out. You're in like phase 2 after you've gotten your 50 caps now, and phase 3, phase 4, like we'll see as you continue to be able to elevate, like what those feel like. And I mean, it's pretty cool that you're in phase 2, that you've had 50 caps and you are an Olympian.
Yeah.
So
no,
that's
cool.
an incredibly special thing and a testament to your ability to transition. But even looking at that, like you talk about the things that you did on the side that helped you to elevate and to be able to get to where you are, and how important that stuff outside of sport has played into sport. Because those transitions, like it's a long transition. You have to kind of give yourself that grace and have that patience in it.
Yeah. If you look at our squad as well, generally, I think our average age is 22, whereas the majority of other international squads is 27, 28. So it's been very interesting because really we have gone through that learning together. You know, a lot of us we have a couple like over 100, but the majority is like 25 to 75, and we're just trying to figure it out together. And I think that process has been so fun for us to learn as a group and see us develop. We this past year have fully centralized as a group in Charlotte, and to see these people grow has just been so much fun, and like grow individually and collectively. Yeah, just honestly an amazing experience. And to top it off with qualification for Paris, like insane. So
absolutely insane. So special. Like just such a testament to the group and the willingness to work together. It makes me think of, you said this at the beginning, of like when you feel a play building in field hockey, like you can watch it and you can feel that it's forming before it goes. And you guys have gotten to develop so much together that I bet you that like flow state when you're feeling, it's not that like one player or two players who are on the pitch with you guys can feel it and see it, but you guys are still figuring it out. Like you're all feeling it and being able to adjust and make those things together all at the same time. I can only imagine when you're all at like your 100 plus, like how crazy that system is going to be. But it's so sweet that it's that sweet sensation that you get to do it all together, and you get to develop and you get to really watch this whole situation formulate.
Yeah. Super cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's really special.
Yeah, it is.
And you guys are the young guns. It's got this like underdog mentality going into Paris. It's so cool. We love an underdog story. It's fantastic. I mean, you guys are literally the young guns going into Paris. The average team age is 27. You guys are an average of 22. Like, it's crazy. My gosh. It's
so going into the Olympic qualifier, I think in our pool of 4, we were technically ranked the lowest. And the big thing for us was all about, okay, we're the underdogs, you know, but how can we reframe the pressure of, you know, okay, we have to go in and Paris qualification is on the line, but there is no pressure on us. Like, we are the underdog. We accept that. And that is our mentality, but there is no pressure on us to go out there. Nobody expects us to win. Nobody expects us to, you know, even make it past the group stage. And how can we go out there and put on a really great performance where we, you know, perform as together collectively as a group really well. And honestly, we went out there and did that. We were just in sync the entire game. So it was really great to be a part of, and really cool to then, you know, have it end with a, you know, qualification. Insane.
Absolutely insane. And it's not that you set the bar low even, it was just that you went in with no expectation and you were able to play free and to just do it. So special. Yeah. So special. I'm assuming that was probably one of the highs of your career, but I'm really curious of like your career so far, like your highs and lows. We've talked about all of it. Like in sport, you're going to have highs and lows. I would love to know from your career so far, what have been your favorite moments in your career? And can you talk a little bit simultaneously about what lows have done for you, like what lows in sport have
Yeah.
done in order to inspire those highs?
Yeah. So, I mean, one, of course, I think Paris qualification is definitely a high for us, as well as coming in second at the Pan Am Games back in October, which was another really big high for us. Because again, we really had no expectations going into that tournament. I think we were ranked technically third at that point of how it should come out, which means, you know, maybe a more difficult pool at, or a different pool, not necessarily more difficult because they're all difficult, but, a different pool at the Olympic qualifier. But again, it's like you look at those great moments and you see, wow, look at all their hard work. Well, I can tell you, last year we were relegated from our pro league, which was really tough, something that we've worked really hard for and to continue to be a part of. And like, unfortunately, we come up short in that tournament. And that was really hard for us because this is where we get a lot of our playing experience from. We had just turnover in our coaching staff, which has been really difficult over the past couple of years. And in those moments, like, we really got together as a group and a leadership group, and we talked about, okay, in 10 years, what do we want for this program? Because change is not going to happen immediately. Change is not, it's not going to be instantly better. Again, like, Rome wasn't built in a day. So how can we create a foundation for this program to then, in 10 years, have a great setup where players thrive? And a big thing was for us building our culture to, fit what we wanted. Previously, we had played where Monday through Friday, we were basically at the office. Like, we were at the pitch all day. And we knew for us, that wasn't something that worked for us. We looked to create an environment with a little bit more balance. So, a lot of the feedback we received from players was, well, how am I furthering my career outside of field hockey? Like, what I'm passionate about, say, becoming a physical therapist. Well, how am I, post field hockey, how am I furthering my career to set myself up for success? And I think that's where we were like, okay, we really want to improve on that. How can we set up a program where people can play field hockey and be a part of the program, but then in the afternoons, go work and go, be with family or do something that's important to you, to then show up the next day, buy back in, and, come to work like you want to work hard and you want to be there. And in creating that culture, we saw a lot of people say, okay, I want to be a part of this. And I can see that it's going to be a really tough road, but this is something that's important to me. And I think that was really inspiring to see so many people. I mean, we did a ton of hard work, and there are people like that aren't on this team anymore that have retired that did that really hard work. And, it's really inspiring to see these players, these younger players, then come in and say, I want to be a part of this. Like, this is something I can see myself doing for hopefully another 10 years, hopefully longer, if we can. If you look at like the women's soccer program, they're all in it for so long. That's what we want to build. So I think the background to us having that Paris qualification, it comes on the back end of a lot of hard work and a lot of like tough conversations, a lot of culture building, a lot of, connecting one another and, understanding how each player operates and, how can I have your back on the field? How can we be better as teammates on the pitch and off the pitch? I think that's been really interesting to see, just that develop over time. And to end with Paris qualification, it's amazing. But I don't think that was necessarily something that anybody expected us to do. And to then be able to say, okay, we have LA 2028 coming up in just another 4 years. How are we going to build to that? How are we building again our program to see other people succeed in those moments? Yeah, I think that's been the big thing for us. And I hope to continue to see this team grow in that way, because we've built really something it's amazing. People want to be a part of.
It is amazing. And what's really special that you've been saying and that you continue to say, and it really comes through, is that the result, the qualification, all of it, like it's a cherry on top to the work that's been put in that you were already incredibly proud of. It's the whole notion that, like, yes, the external result is great, but the internal work that's been put in is so much more important.
Yeah.
And I'm so much more proud of that and what we've done to do the internal stuff. Like it's an incredible, incredible thing that you guys have been working to build, and that you're starting to see it come to fruition now, to see that come to fruition, to see that, be a part of it, and to get an Olympic qualification 4 years earlier than you were necessarily even planning for is it's icing. It's icing on that cake.
Right.
It is, the cake was already baked, but the icing is the added finish that makes it so much tastier. I love it. It's just that added bonus element, which I think is so special for you.
Yeah.
Now, looking at the Paris qualification, because we're seeing this icing, like, you got it, you did it.
Yeah.
It's such a cool thing to see a program go from something that it was hard to want to be a part of to something that people are excited to be a part of.
Yeah.
And can you elaborate on the emotions? Can you talk about the emotions that led up to knowing that you guys had qualified, and then the emotions of being officially named to the Olympic roster? What was that like?
Yeah. Well, I think for us, it's always hard in the moments of, uncertainty. You're a little bit anxious, you're a little bit nervous of what could happen. It's the same way leading up to the qualification. So much was on the line for us, and we were all super anxious, nervous, but something that we rely on, and we found works for us, is like just getting it out in the open and being like, I am nervous, and I'm feeling anxious right now. And, I'm feeling very uncertain of both myself and the situation we're in. And that connection piece for us has been so helpful. So, those emotions were there in both leading up to the qualification and to the Paris selection coming out. But I think, we understood that we had jobs to do. And in order to do that job, I needed to voice how I was feeling, and just, it's like the elephant in the room, get it out there and move on from it. So I think I am very grateful for this group of players that, cares for each other, wants to hear those feelings, those emotions, and is so open with like just getting it out there and being like, okay, I'm here for you. Let's move on and go do something great.
I am such an external communicator.
Yeah.
That made me so happy to hear.
Yeah.
I am like grinning ear to ear hearing you say that's such a fundamental piece of your guys' team culture, is to have that like verbalization of, this is what I'm going through, so that way that your team can unite behind you and help lift you up, whether it's a really high that you're sharing or a really low that you're sharing, of like, super excited that I'm feeling XYZ, or I'm really, really amped up right now, my adrenaline is way too high, or I am so nervous, like this is what I'm feeling internally, this is I'm not feeling like I'm at my A, but I'm ready to compete, but I'm not feeling like I'm at my A, I'm feeling like I'm only able to give like a B or a C right now, but my effort's going to be an A, my execution might be a C, this is where I'm at. And having that knowledge with your teammates in beach volleyball, it's like having that knowledge with your partner, something that's been so fundamental for me, especially as I've grown older and elevated in my career, has been getting it out there, putting it out in the open, like what I have available, like what's in your toolbox for the day, because you're not always going to have every tool available. And so knowing that that's such a fundamental piece for you guys on the US team, It's so cool to hear because I'm like, oh, yes, that is me through and through. I am such an external communicator. Like, put it out there so that everybody knows what's going on so that then we can work together to elevate from there.
Right. And that's not to say we weren't feeling like super excitement and, of course it's like all those great feelings, but just to have those moments with each other definitely builds our connection, builds our culture every day. And of course I would like to say too, like, for everyone listening, more often than not, we're freaking out on the inside. And I know everyone sees us as like professional athletes and we have all of our stuff together, but I go out there and I'm like, okay, I have to go play against some of the best players in the world, but I also am one of the best, like I am a good player too. And like, how am I going and putting myself out there? And even though I am nervous, that doesn't define my game. And how can I like go outside of that to find like, what are my strengths? So yeah, even though it seems like we might be perfectly fine and we're great and, we can go out there and perform our job every single day, I am more often or more likely than not, nervous and afraid that I'm going to make a mistake. And I feel like it's something that I would love to normalize more. It's okay to be nervous and feeling like, you're not good enough, but those feelings, even though your brain is telling you that, it's not true. You have value, you have worth. Yeah, that's really like close to my heart. And I think it has helped me grow as a player to understand that. And I hope other people, take what I'm saying and apply it to themselves.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think you couldn't have hit the nail on the head better there of just showing and highlighting the fact that like nerves are a huge piece of the game too.
Yeah.
But it almost helps you with that mental preparation side. Yeah. And it's like you are so thrilled to have all of the amazingness that's going on. But there's also the side of things that it's like, I have to give myself reminders that I'm one of the best players in the world. I have to do these constant check-ins because I'm going up against the best of the best at all times.
Yeah, right.
And it's okay to be nervous. Like I am also one of the best, but it's okay to still have nerves. It's okay to go through these things because and going back to the fact that you've been working to build this team culture, that you've got the rest of your teammates that are backing you, that are doing these things, that are putting in the same amount of work to help you and elevate you from there. Yeah. Now, how, as a team, are you guys preparing for the upcoming Olympics? I know that you've been putting in the work. You guys are all in Charlotte now, training together. What are you looking forward to the most from seeing your prep going? And like, what are you doing in this final leg of prep before going off to Paris?
Yeah. So right now, you best believe we are working our butts off every day. It is like 100 degrees here and we're out there every day, just trying to prepare the best we can for the heat and for the competition. I think I am most excited to see again, like how our connection is going to grow, from our recent games in Europe to now to the Olympics. I'm excited to see how we grow as a team. We've been really working on like goal scoring, things like that, especially in like our attacking end, gaining confidence in those moments of, I can take on a defender and a 1v1 and beat them. How do I have confidence in that, in my ability to go out there and score a goal? Because, we do have those skills. So yeah, again, though we are technically like the underdogs in this tournament, but I think we would love us to come out with the mentality of, yes, we have nothing to lose, but again, every single day we're getting better, and every single day we are growing as a team. We are gaining experience, and I think we would love to show that on the international stage. And yes, maybe we might lose, but we are going to go out there and give everything we have and give everything we've learned to this performance. So I'm excited to see how we perform, especially in like small game management situations. How are we maturing as a group? It's really exciting to see. Yeah.
It's special. It goes back, it really aligns with the core of Strong Girls United of like having, it's not necessarily going in with any expectations, but it's having like prepping and giving yourself that toolbox and opportunity to succeed and then rolling with whatever punches are thrown, but giving yourself that opportunity to thrive and knowing that you're going in preparing as best as you possibly can. Like you're going to be going into Paris and you guys are going to know that you have put in every ounce of effort that you could possibly do to get the best result that you could. Doesn't matter what that result is. You are going to be like proud of the effort that you've put in and established.
Right. For us, our goal is to get out of the group stage. And I know like in the US, our culture is we should be going in and winning gold. But for us, I know, like, of course, that's something that we want. That's something that, you know, we're going to go out there and we're going to give everything to win gold. But realistically, for us and where we are in our, you know, plan of growing the sport and growing the game, we would love to come out of the group stage. And we would love to, you know, give everything we have to, again, build that platform for, okay, going into 2028, what's our goal? Medal. That's where we're at right now. So I'm excited to see us and like setting that really defined goal and okay, how are we performing to achieve that goal?
It's awesome. It's setting your pillars. I'm going to even rewind this back for our listeners that have listened with us through season 1. And for those who are new tuning in right now, something that can be really awesome to listen from with Ally's story and listening to USA Field Hockey, go back and listen to our Keegan Randall episode. Keegan Randall, she is incredible. Ended her career in her 5th Olympics, winning gold in the tandem sprint ski. And she talks about her journey starting at 18 in the Olympics and how each time her goal was to get a little bit higher. And that goes back to your guys's entire mentality is each stage we want to do a little bit better than before. We are going, we want to get out of group stage right now. Like we've qualified for the Olympics. That is step 1. Now we want to get out of group stage. Now next Olympics, we want to medal. And anything after that is gravy. It's amazing. But these are the goals that we're setting to establish a really, really long career culture establishment of USA field hockey. And like that, I was like, wow, it's an Olympic culture that I have heard before. And it's so phenomenal. It's a recipe. It's a recipe to success. It's not even setting the bar low. It's setting the bar, period. The end.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. And like I was saying, it literally aligns so heavily with the core in our mission at Strong Girls United because it's empowering ourselves as women and girls around us through sports, mentorship, mental skills training. And you're doing that step by step. You're setting yourself through mental skills training. You're doing this. You're playing a sport, but you're setting those stones ahead so that you can elevate for the years to come. And so that you can mentor the players who are going to be coming in through the pipeline, doing all of those things. It's creating that culture to elevate from there. It's awesome.
It's so exciting talking about. Like, I can't wait to see how it develops.
It literally makes me smile so much. I'm like, I've had like consistent goosebumps this entire chat because it's really like, it's all about, for you, it's really about like establishing this existing culture that's going to last for hopefully the lifetime of USA Field Hockey. And we go back to the beginning of this chat of looking at how you were saying, like, that's something that you love so much about field hockey is that 3D evolution, like the dimensional evolution that you get to see and experience firsthand. And you, as a member of USA Field Hockey, in this really like developmental establishment of a culture, of a program, you are getting to experience this evolution, not just in the change of a rule of the sport 10 years ago, which you already got to do, but you also get to watch this evolution and establishment of a culture, which is such a uniquely special thing to have.
Yeah.
I love it.
It feels so special. Yeah.
It's surreal. It's a phenomenal thing. getting to be a part of something and getting to watch it grow. And now you're going to like be able to look back even when your career is long over. And when that culture is still there, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I was a part of this. This is something that I helped to put in. Like, we hope that this culture lasts for the lifetime of USA field hockey from here on out, because we put in the work to do it now. It's special. It's really, really special.
It is.
I'm telling you, I'm like, literally, I'm happy that that you can't fully see my arms in this shot right now, because they've just been like chicken skin goosebumps the whole time because of how like much it is really, really powerful. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, as I'm grinning ear to ear, I'm like, wow, like, just thank you so much for coming on and sharing this story. This is such a cool, I mean, I'm excited to watch field hockey at the Olympics, but I'm really even more excited to just continue to watch and listen and follow the growth of the program and the culture that you guys have been putting in. Because that's the thing that's like even more special than just this Olympic journey is getting to watch this journey and development of a program.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you so much for having me on and all your kind words. I hope I, one, have convinced everyone to watch field hockey, because that's important. Everyone watch it. And two, I hope I can convey all the hard work, like you're saying, all the hard work we've put into this, and hopefully, you know, convince some people to try out field hockey, because it really is such a special sport and it's special to all of us. And, you know, our mission is just to grow the game, because it's so important to continue to have players, you know, buying into this amazing experience and dreaming. You know, we always say, like, we hope to inspire others to dream big, because you can achieve these things. Like, you can go out there and, you know, when I was young, I looked at Mia Hamm and I wanted to be an Olympian, and here I am going out there and doing it. So yeah, I hope that you guys can all hear our passion and what we look to do, and, you know, cheer on Team USA at the Olympics.
Heck yeah. Big cheers. Now, Ally, before I let you leave and get on with the rest of your day, I've got a really fun little ending, which is our Strong Girls United series questions. These are following the pillars of our nonprofit. For our returning listeners, you know them, the pillars of Strong Girls United. For our new listeners here, are strong bodies, kind hearts, and unstoppable minds. That's the foundation that we set for everybody, and the thing that we want to keep promoting with time in and time out with Strong Girls United. And so following the pillars of our nonprofit in the spirit of all of these wonderful things that we've talked about today, Ally, how do you keep your body strong?
I keep my body strong by, this is crazy. That's a great question. By putting, you know, giving what my body needs every day in like my strength training, in my nutrition, in also telling it that I love my body and, you know, you can do great things. That's how I keep my body strong.
I love it. Now, next one is, how do you keep your heart kind?
I love to tell people and, you know, show how grateful I am to people, you know, writing that down or saying it to someone every day, you know, seeing the little things that people do. That's how I keep my heart kind.
Again, I love it. And now, last but most certainly not least, how do you keep your mind unstoppable?
I keep my mind unstoppable by remembering what my strengths are and what I am good at, and remembering that I should bring those things every day, no matter what anybody says, no matter what people think.
Oh, yes. That is awesome. It's highlighting your strengths and just elevating yourself along the way, knowing that you've got what you've got. Oh, it's so good. Ally, thank you again. I've like said it like 10 times already, I think, but thank you so much for joining me today on this chat. I'm just so grateful for the conversations that we've had.
Yeah, well, this has been so much fun, and I appreciate it. Anything to, you know, grow the game and talk about our experiences.
It's pretty special. Well, for all of our listeners who've tuned in today, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to another episode of Strong Girls Pod. I'm your host, Charlie Ekstrom, and we are signing off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to join us today on Strong Girls Pod. In the spirit of growing community and inspiring strong girls and women everywhere, please subscribe, rate, and leave a comment about our podcast. Tell your friends, family, really everyone to listen in and enjoy. This podcast is sponsored by Strong Girls United, a nonprofit with a mission to empower girls to be strong, confident, and resilient through sports mentorship and mental health programming. Visit sgunitedfoundation.org to learn more on how you can get involved today.